Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with your friends because today's story is one that's shaking conversations across Southern Africa. Something big is happening, quiet, but powerful, and South Africa is watching closely. 11 deportees from the United States have just arrived in the region, and their arrival is already igniting a storm of debate, from security concerns to human rights fears. What's going on behind the scenes? Why is the small group stirring such a large political and social reaction? Let's break it all down, because this story goes deeper than it seems. The news broke quietly at first. A flight landed carrying 11 individuals deported from the United States, reportedly for various immigration and legal issues. But almost instantly, regional intelligence networks and South African authorities began monitoring the situation closely. It wasn't just about who they were, but about what they represented. The US has been conducting deportations for decades, but this particular batch, reportedly from African nations, arrived amid growing global tensions, and whispers are growing that some among them might have links to sensitive political or criminal backgrounds. Whether that's true or not, nobody knows yet. But the silence surrounding their identities has made the situation even more intriguing. In Pretoria, sources within the Department of Home Affairs and the State Security Agency have confirmed that the government is observing the situation with great caution. Why such caution over just 11 people? Because in a region already battling migration pressures, terrorism alerts, and internal instability, the arrival of a group deported from one of the most powerful countries on earth automatically raises questions. Were these deportees properly vetted? What crimes or accusations led to their removal? And most importantly, why were they sent to this particular part of Africa? Already, South Africans online are split down the middle. Some argue that everyone deserves a second chance and that deportees are human beings who need support and reintegration. Others, however, see this as a potential security threat, an opening for external forces to destabilize an already fragile region. Social media is buzzing with questions like, are these people being tracked, and why is the US deporting people into an area already struggling with unemployment, crime, and migration pressure? Behind the scenes, diplomatic whispers are suggesting that some of the deportees might be from countries neighboring South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Malawi, or even Nigeria. If that's true, their presence could soon spark political negotiations between governments in the region. South Africa might find itself having to mediate, especially if these individuals cross its borders or request asylum. Regional cooperation has never been easy in Southern Africa, and an issue like this, tied to both the US and human rights law, could quickly become an international flashpoint. Let's not forget the human side of this story. 11 people, plucked from the United States and dropped back into a continent they might not have seen for decades. Some could have built lives, families, and dreams overseas, only to be stripped of everything and sent away. That kind of emotional and psychological trauma runs deep. Human rights activists are already raising red flags, warning that deportations without proper reintegration plans are a recipe for exploitation, violence, and despair. Some advocacy groups in Johannesburg and Cape Town are reportedly preparing to reach out to assist or at least document what happens to these individuals next. But the real tension is political. The US has often been accused of selectively deporting individuals, particularly Africans, while turning a blind eye to others. And now, with global migration under scrutiny, critics are calling this yet another example of Western powers exporting their problems to developing nations. South Africa, already dealing with massive migration challenges from across Africa, is in no mood to inherit more complications. Security experts warn that what seems like a small number, 11, could represent a test run. Could this be the beginning of a new wave of deportations to African countries? If so, how will the Southern African Development Community, SADC, respond? There are fears that Western nations might begin repatriating more people under broad security or immigration labels, without accountability for what happens to them afterward. That's why Pretoria's response right now matters. Whatever happens with these first 11 could set a precedent for the future. Meanwhile, ordinary South Africans are reacting with suspicion. Some fear that among the deportees might be individuals linked to serious crimes, gangs, or extremist groups, especially with rumors circulating that US authorities had not disclosed full details to receiving countries. And in a country already battling violent crime, kidnappings, and cross-border trafficking, the timing feels suspiciously tense. The government has not released official details, but journalists are digging, and sources suggest that at least some of these deportees have complex histories involving overstayed visas, fraud cases, and alleged gang ties. None of that is confirmed yet, but the secrecy itself is fueling the fire. On the flip side, voices in the human rights community are warning against fearmongering. They argue that these people are being demonized before any evidence is even shown. They've served their time, they've been deported, and they deserve dignity, said one activist speaking to a local radio station. We cannot call ourselves a human rights nation if we treat returnees like ticking bombs. The South African government now faces a delicate balancing act. If they treat the arrivals as security risks, it could strain relations with Washington and human rights organizations. But if they appear too lenient, they risk public outrage and domestic political backlash, especially with elections not too far away. The opposition is already sharpening its knives, accusing the ruling party of blindly trusting Western intelligence and failing to protect national borders. In a climate where every move counts, even 11 deportees can cause political tremors. Regional allies are watching too. Zimbabwe and Botswana have already faced similar issues, where deported nationals return from Europe or the US only to find themselves stranded, jobless, and stigmatized. Without proper reintegration policies, some turn to crime or illegal migration again, creating a vicious cycle that feeds xenophobic tensions across southern Africa. That's why South Africa's handling of this moment could become a case study, either in compassion or in chaos. As of now, the government maintains silence. Official statements refer only to ongoing monitoring and coordination with regional partners. No one is saying much, but everyone is watching. Flights, records, and border alerts are being quietly checked. The question is, will this end as a minor immigration story, or will it explode into a regional controversy involving Washington, Pretoria, and the entire African diplomatic circle? Whatever happens next, it's clear that the world is entering a new chapter of migration politics, one where even a small group of deportees can ignite major debates about power, justice, and sovereignty. For South Africa,